So let's talk about Canada's 2024 federal budget. And look, this thing is way more than just a bunch of numbers on a page. It's really a direct answer to this growing fear that a lot of Canadians, especially younger ones, are feeling. We're going to break down its ambitious plan to tackle that exact fear, from its core mission all the way to its pretty bold strategy for the country's future. And you see this right from the get-go. The budget kicks off with this really powerful statement. It's not about deficits or dollars, it's about a feeling. It's about this sense that the promise of Canada, the whole idea that you'll have a better life than your parents did, is starting to crumble. Honestly, that one sentence, it's the key. It sets the stage for everything else in the document. So what does that even mean, a promise at risk? Well, the budget doesn't pull any punches. It points directly to a major generational divide. The argument it makes is that for millennials and Gen Z, the ladder to a stable, middle-class life just doesn't feel the same. It's like a few crucial rungs have been kicked out, making that climb way, way harder than it was for previous generations. And here's where we get to the absolute heart of the problem. The budget singles out one issue above all others, the cost of a home. It's not just about the dream of ownership, feeling impossible. It's that sky-high rent is eating up entire paychecks, making it tough to save, let alone get ahead. Housing is framed as the first and most critical domino that needs to be addressed. Okay, so if that's the big challenge, what's the proposed solution? What's the government's answer? Well, the budget lays out this three-part battle plan, and it's designed specifically to try and rebuild that sense of fairness for everyone. And here they are, the three big pillars of the plan. Build more homes, make life cost less, and grow the economy. Simple enough, right? But here's the thing. While the budget touches on all three, it puts a huge amount of its energy and its biggest, boldest promises right on that first one, housing. So that's where we're going to go deep, because it's pretty clear that's the backbone of this whole strategy. All right, so let's dive into that first pillar. And when you do, you realize pretty quickly that housing isn't just part of the plan. In many ways, it is the plan. It's framed as this huge national mission, a Team Canada effort to build on a scale that we just haven't seen in decades. And they put a number on it, a big number. We're talking 3.87 million new homes by 2031. Now, to be clear about what that means, the government is already expecting about 1.87 million homes to be built. This plan is about adding an extra 2 million on top of that. I mean, the sheer scale of that ambition is really what drives the whole story of this budget. Okay, so that immediately brings up the big question, right? A huge number is one thing, but how are you actually going to do it? How do you get from a target on a piece of paper to actual homes people can move into? Well, the strategy is basically to attack this problem from a bunch of different angles at once. A massive piece of it, as you can see, is about unlocking public land. We're talking about everything from surplus federal properties and old office buildings to even land owned by Canada Post and National Defense. At the same time, it's about giving money to cities to cut that infamous red tape and change zoning laws, all to clear the runway for developers to just build faster. Let's zoom in on that public lands for homes plan for a second, because it's a real cornerstone of this whole thing. The goal here is to build 250,000 new homes on land the government already owns. And you can see the logic, right? If you take the biggest single cost, the land itself, out of the picture, it suddenly becomes way easier to build affordable housing and build it fast. Okay, so building millions of homes, funding all these new programs, that is a massive, massive undertaking. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. How are we going to pay for all this? Where is the money coming from? So let's shift gears and look at the financial side of the budget. So to make the case for all this new spending, the budget kind of goes on the defensive right away. It puts this chart front and center to argue that, hey, look, compared to our G7 peers, Canada's debt is actually pretty low. This is the whole foundation of their fiscal argument. We have the room to spend because, believe it or not, we're in a better financial spot than most other major economies. And here's the answer to the how to pay for it question. The document is crystal clear. The money is going to come from making Canada's tax system, in their words, more fair, specifically by asking the wealthiest to pay more. The entire plan really hinges on this idea. Now, to show they're being fiscally responsible, the budget lays out what it calls fiscal anchors. You can think of these as hard and fast rules the government is setting for itself. Basically, they're saying, look, yes, we're spending a lot, but we promise to keep the national credit card, the deficit, and the debt shrinking compared to the size of our economy. These are their guardrails. And all of this, the housing plans, the tax changes, the fiscal rules, it all brings us right back to where we started. It all ties back to this one single overarching idea: generational fairness. This really is the end game. Every single policy we've just talked about, from using public lands for homes to changing the tax code, it's all presented as a tool, a key, really, designed for just one thing: to unlock that door to the middle class for millions of younger Canadians who feel like it's been slammed shut.
So there you have it. The budget lays out a very clear diagnosis of the problem and a really bold prescription for how to fix it. It's a huge bet on being able to totally reshape Canada's housing market and its economy. But the question that hangs over every single page of this document is a big one. Is this plan actually going to be enough? Will it work to restore that promise of Canada for the next generation? And that really is the billion-dollar question.